So I will be doing a lesson on multiplying a binomial and a trinomial. Feel free to pause at any time to write this down in your notes. This will be short. Today's assignment isn't long. It's not a lot of problems, but it will take careful attention to detail. So again, we are multiplying. Yesterday's lesson was on multiplying two binomials together. Today we're going to be multiplying a binomial and a trinomial. Keep in mind that a binomial means we are multiplying a two-term polynomial, and a trinomial means we are multiplying it with a three-term polynomial. So bi, the prefix bi is for 2, and tri is for 3. So rather than just give you examples to copy, we are going to go to, in Delta Math, this is how I have it set up. You are today, for the assignment, going to watch the video and take notes, which will be up here as first thing once I finish it. And then you are going to practice 3 multiplying binomial problems. Remember that you can set up using the box method if you like. But certainly you could double distribute also, but make sure all problems are written neatly in your notebook and you are showing all work and answers. We are going to be doing a box method for binomials times trinomials. I will show you a double distribution method in case that is your preference for at least one problem, but all of these will be guided box method problems, okay? Similar to yesterday, but 2 terms times 3 terms. So I'm just going to go over here and choose a problem. This is actually 4 terms times 2 terms. So give me a second and I'll find one that's 2 terms times 3 terms. And that's what we'll do in our notes. So you won't be able to click on this in Delta Math, but here's one. So I am going to write this down on paper. So I'm going to just call this example 1. And I'm going to write down this part right here. And it says to use the box method to simplify, to distribute and simplify, and then you'll drag and drop terms to the correct locations on the table. So I'm first going to write it on paper. Okay, and I'm going to talk to you about what it means with rows and columns again. I mentioned this yesterday that when we, that rows, think about theater rows, or if you go to the movies, your rows go from left to right, and then columns, like columns on a building, go up and down, okay? So my recommendation would be when we create our box, we need 3 terms, and I recommend putting the 3 on the top and then the 2 on the side. So I'm just going to bring this one down, leaving plenty of room, because if you write too small, sometimes things can get really cramped in your box and it's hard to see what you wrote. One of the things that, if you remember from when we would drag the terms yesterday, is this -5. Remember that minus sticks with the 5. It's actually a negative. So how many rows and columns are we creating? So if you think about this, this is 3 what? They go up and down, so this is 3 columns by how many rows? We have 2 rows. So I'm going to draw my line here so that we've got 6 boxes to put our products in. Remember where we are multiplying the term at the top with the term on the side and putting its product in the box. But you see how I have it really spread out? Like, for me, that's almost, that's like a good 1.5 fingers wide. Okay, so don't make them too tight together. So in Delta Math, we would put that we have 2 rows and 3 columns. Oops, why didn't it select? There we go. It's going to create it. Then we can drag the terms down, just like we have on paper, and then we can put the product in each one, okay? Very important, I want you to make sure you're doing this on paper as well, so I'm going to switch back. Every problem should be on paper that you do today. And I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the boxes. I actually like to switch colors so that it contrasts with the lines, so anything that I write stands out from the box that I drew. But important, we've got to be able to multiply correctly, we've got to be able to multiply positive and negatives correctly, and we have to remember our exponent rules as well, which say then that when I multiply an x times an x, that I add their exponents. So I'm just going to do this and put a plus sign to help you remember that we add these exponents, okay? So negative 3 times 3 is negative 9, x to the third. And it doesn't matter if you go across the row or down the column, just make sure you fill in all 6 boxes. So 3x times negative 4x would be negative 12x squared. See, I'll have plenty of room for my sign and my number and my variable and my exponent, so make them good and wide. 6 times 3x is 18x. Remember, if you are not great with your multiplication, we really need to review that. And if you contact us and say, I really need help with multiplication, we can actually create a special assignment just for you on Delta Math just to help you practice multiplying. So just let us know if you need a little more support with that. So negative 3 times negative 5 would give us a positive 15, and because this term has a variable but this one does not, I keep the x squared. Then negative 4x times negative 5, a negative times a negative is a positive, and that would be 20x. And then 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. Next, what I would like for you to notice is that we always want to write our answer in standard form, which is descending order. So that means I'm going to start off with this one, and I'm going to end with this constant. I start off with this term when I write my answer because it's the term with the highest degree. But what I also want you to notice is that these diagonally, see how we have an x squared and an x squared? That means they are like terms and we can combine them. So this is simply going to be 15 minus 12, which is 3. And since 3 is positive, so think about if I combine this and I get 3x squared and it's positive, I need to put a sign in between all my terms. So if it's positive, I'm going to put a plus. If it was negative, I would put a minus. And next, 20x and 18x, because they're both positive, when I add those, I get 38x. And it's positive, so I'm going to put plus 38x. And then lastly, I'm going to have my constant. So keep in mind in standard form, which is descending order, we have cubed, squared, x to the first, and then no x at all, okay? So I'm going to put up here right answer in standard form, which just means it's in descending order by power. In other words, like 4, 3, 2, 1, none, etc. Okay? All right, and that would be our answer. And then we're simply going to go back and type it in here in the box, just like we did with the multiplying binomials yesterday. So I'm going to do this one so you'll have it, but just want to remind you in case you flew through yesterday's video, which please do not do that. Make sure you are always watching the video because we give you all kinds of hints and tips. And of course, if you join us during Zoom, then we're doing all this together. So you could be making hundreds every day by joining us during Zoom. We highly encourage you to do this. These asynchronous videos are for students that really just can't join us during the Zoom time. They've got other conflicts. So otherwise, we really want to meet you, get to know you, help you one-on-one, learn how you learn, and be able to adjust to meet your learning needs. So I'm just going to remind you that let's say we left off a sign and got a term wrong. When you hit try, it's going to tell you if you have an error. So it says you have at least one error or term that is not simplified. So then I would go in and check, what did I do wrong? But notice it gives you a box where you made the mistake. So we already did this and found that it's negative 30. Then when I hit try, it will say correct. Now you can type in the simplified answer. So now I'm going to type in the answer we wrote on paper, hitting Shift 6 to get the exponent. And then I always double check, is that what I wrote on paper? Submit answer, and yes. Okay? So again, they're really going through it, color coding, showing you what's like terms, and then writing it in descending order, and we're correct. And that's really all there is to this, guys. So you're going to go through and do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these, even though it says level 3, they're the same thing. Just how many rows? So I always do rows and columns here, so that's 2 by 3. So I would do 2 rows by 3 columns. And it doesn't show you, it just pops up when you're done. So I take this green and drag it here. Can you do it the other way? Can you do 3 rows and 2 columns? You sure can. You sure can. You can do it that way if you like, and then you should have like terms diagonally as well. But usually we do it the other way around. We do 2 rows and 3 columns, okay? So your job is to go in and do the remainder of these problems, making sure that every problem is also copied in your notebook. You also, if you would, write this down as well, because I want to show you that some of you may prefer not to do it by box method. You already don't use the box for a binomial times a binomial. So if you'll be patient with me, I'm going to also show you how we can double distribute and how we might organize our work there. So we can still use double distribute like we do a binomial times a binomial, meaning we take this term and share it to all 3 terms. Some people are good at keeping it up with their head and they just prefer it. So I just want to go through it. So 3 times negative 3 would be negative 9. X times x squared is x cubed. 3x times a negative 4x is negative 12x squared. 3x times positive 6 is positive 18x. And then you take the negative 5 and distribute. Okay? So negative 5 times negative 3x squared. Notice it's an x squared term. So if I get 15x squared, I want to line it up under its like term. You could go out here, but I prefer to keep them stacked. It makes it easier to identify like terms and combine them. So negative 5 times negative 4x would be positive 20x. So I'm going to line it up here under my x term. And negative 5 times positive 6 is negative 30. And then I'm going to combine my terms vertically. So negative 9x cubed. When I combine a positive and a negative, it's really just subtraction. So it's 15 minus 12, which is positive 3x squared. Remember, if you get confused, though, you can always just type in your calculator, negative 12 plus 15, right? 18 and 20 make 38x, and then bring down your constant of negative 30. And see, we have the same answer, but some people just prefer to not use box. So I just want to show you that if in your notes you're showing me this, it helps me to learn what you prefer as a learner. However, you will be expected to fill in the box, and that's just so we're very intentional, and it helps to check you to make sure your products are correct. All right, so that's the conclusion of the video. Just make sure that you have this. Look how short the notes are. This is how short the notes are for today. And then you also need to work out all problems in your notebook. Just put up here next, Delta Math, and then the title. The title will be by times by and by times try. So you can do that. By times by and by. Sorry, I'm writing, but you can't see what I'm doing. And by times try. And then just do number 1. So all of your problems that you work out today should be in your notebook, neat and concise. So that way you can use them, because tomorrow you have a test review and your test will be coming up right after that. So make sure you keep your notes organized, labeled, so that you can use them for a quiz or test. All right, have a great day.